All right. So we started by talking about sort of building an online presence. So
Organically or paid.
organically or paid. And in either case, the way to do that initially is you need to start by building your brand. Now, again, organically or paid is more of, that's the exposure that you get, right? So there's times where organically you can post something and it gets a whole bunch of views, it gets a whole bunch of action and everything like that, just because people like it for whatever reason, right? And you pay to get it in front of so many people, just like anything with advertising,
Sure.
right? But in either case, in order for it to be effective, it needs to deliver value. So we talked about delivering value comes in by either being educational, inspirational, or entertaining.
Yep.
Right? A business like yours, I would guess that the majority of that's going to be in the educational or inspirational.
Correct.
So the right now, currently, in our current sort of social market, the most effective way to get traction out of people and the easiest way to build a brand that people can connect with is through a video. That's why we operate the way that we do. And so, but with that, it takes a lot of video to see what's working and what's not. So one of the reasons that we record podcasts like this is because we do record a bunch of one-offs. So when I talk about a lot of video, we're talking 1 or 2 videos per day going out to multiple social platforms, it's substantial. And so one of the reasons that we do stuff like this is because then we can take small segments out of a long form like this, record for a half hour or so, but then be able to pull 20 to 30 small segments, that are maybe, 30 seconds to a minute or so, and then be able to post those across, reformat them and everything, and then post those out to multiple platforms. It just gives you the ability to create a lot of content in a very short period of time.
Okay.
Now, the benefit of consistently posting and everything the way that I'm talking about is it allows you to test the language that's going to work. Okay, so right now, maybe have an idea of what might connect with your audience. You can make an educated guess, right? But the way to truly know
Is to test it.
And the way that you test it is through consistency and not always saying the same thing. Test what messages are working, what language is working, what, everything.
Okay.
And the one of the reasons that, like I said, that I love personally, or organically posting, I have no problem putting money behind something, but I kind of want to know that it's probably going to work before I start putting any dollars behind it.
So you're saying you typically go the organic route first to test things, and then you go paid advertising the second time?
It's sort of a combination of both, right? So, so like right now, I have large social followings, right? That I've built organically over time, over years of doing it.
Okay.
When someone's just first getting started, it's not a bad idea to put a little bit of money behind just to get it in front of more eyeballs. Otherwise, that way you're not sitting on, if only 10 people see something, that doesn't really give us any kind of a real indication of if anyone liked it or not, because only 10 people looked at it to begin with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure. The sample size is too small.
Exactly. Whereas if we can get it in front of a couple thousand people or 10,000 people, well, now we have an idea of, how long did they watch this video for? Where did they cut off? Where did they,
Okay.
Then we can start making some more educated decisions about what could potentially work and
can I ask you a question? At all.
Absolutely.
Before you partnered with Mario, it sounds like was your emphasis video or was his emphasis video?
Kind of both. So at the companies both companies that I was at, and I spent about a decade in the digital marketing software space. But I always, with pretty much everything that I did, I pushed video as much as possible, whether it was through a webinar format or through educational videos, or because I was the technology industry, software
video necessarily to say, oh, it's clearly an attention getter as opposed to an email or what other forms.
Yes. And I think email is a great way to test as well, But again, you need the email list. You need a substantial list, and that comes from people coming to your website or a landing page or whatever from these videos.
So with video, you don't necessarily need that.
You need both. So yeah, absolutely. You need both.
But I mean, initially, like you said, if you're sending emails, you need an email list. But with video, you just send video.
Well, you build the email list from people watching videos. So if we're talking about sort of a typical funnel, right? You have your sort of awareness phase, right? And then you have more of like an education phase and a conversion phase.
And are you talking videos in each segment? Awareness.
Well, yeah, because you'll be talking about different things throughout that process. But also just in the market in general. So if we hypothetically say that there's 3 million people who could be interested potentially in what Kurt offers,
right?
We know that. All right. So if there's that, there's also people who are at different stages of that buying cycle, right? Just with whatever's going on in their life, right? The buying window opens and closes, and you don't know where they're at. You don't know how much they know. You don't know where they're at. And so that's why as well, having the consistency. You gotta consistently try to stay in front of people. But it's gonna take a while for someone who's maybe much further, who just kind of likes your message, but they're not ready to read your book. They're not ready to, but they like what you have to say, right? That's going to take longer for eventually them to give you their email address or give you, whereas someone who maybe has had something happen in there. I'm trying to think of,
they had a crisis,
spiritual perspective.
Different.
Yeah. They're looking for some answers. Those people, their buying window's pretty wide open.
Got it.
And so they might be more in tune. Now, does that mean we want to forget about the other people? Absolutely not. Right. And then there's a whole bunch of people that are in between those two as well. And that's where having the consistency in constantly going out, right? But then also making it easy for people to opt in, we call it. So that's where you start building your email list.
Okay.
So with an email list, we want to have what's called a lead capture. With that, we want to have something that is a low barrier of entry. So we want to ask for very little information from them, right? So, something like name and email initially. And then we want to stay in front of them, but we want a high perceived value with a low barrier of entry. I don't know about you, like I don't sign up for newsletters. If someone says sign up for a newsletter, no. Give me a reason to. So that's where an initial, it's called a lead magnet.
Which would be a video.
Could be a video. Could be a download. Could be a checklist of things that they can do each day. Could be that's something that can be developed.
Okay.
It could be an electronic. That'd be very high perceived value, I would imagine. As opposed to a physical copy that costs you money to send out. It doesn't cost anything to send someone an email with a PDF on it.
Okay.
I guess that's not a big deal, but I'm not sure why that popped up. This is the computer can be remoted. Well, it can be remoted in by our employees. So,
okay.
I'm not sure if that's what that was, or or if just decided to do that. But, but so having that like I said, high perceived value, low barrier of entry. You can drive people initially. So initially we just want people to watch your videos online, right? We just want them to see your face, get introduced to your brand. And then
on those intro videos, are you asking for anything?
No, we just want them to watch. Right. So, and they're all so when you think about social, we want to keep it very much awareness based, right? Very much. They just want to learn who you are. Just learning who you are by providing some level of value.
Okay.
And then eventually we want to start to sprinkle in some more conversion videos. Hey, if you like this, go here, click the link over here, or whatever, right?
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me for interrupting.
No, it's fine.
You talked about initial videos for awareness. And let's say, and again, I don't really know what's going on this market, but let's say Joe Jones sees my initial video and he's interested, or just he's aware now. When we send a second and third and fourth video, how does it get back to Joe Jones?
Well, that's the benefit of of how the algorithms on social media work.
Okay.
So if someone watches, so for example, on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, right? If someone watches all of a video,
you know whether he watches the whole thing or anything like that?
It doesn't matter, right? You're going to learn more at a large scale. All right, so I had 1,000 people view this.
Okay.
50% of them made it past this point.
You learn all that.
And yeah. Okay. You can know all that information.
Okay.
But we don't necessarily know or care who they are initially. Right. And really on the level of on social media, we just want to get exposure to the brand initially, right? So that then when we do have something that goes out that's a little more conversion, where it's, hey, go here, do this, you're not a stranger to them.
Got it.
They know who you are, right? We want people to know, like, and for who you are.
Right.
It's going to take multiple times of them seeing you. And that's why that consistency and that volume going out is important as well.
And then as far as video itself, are you convinced that video is the way as opposed to email? Yeah, I know you talked about you need a little both, but
I
in this new world we live in,
the difference is on, if you build an email list, you own that list, right? Okay. You will never own your social media following. Okay. So where I said I have a decent sized social following on multiple platforms and everything, if Instagram changes a rule, if TikTok changes, Facebook changes a rule, I'm at their mercy. It's their, it's still on their platform. It's their rules, not mine.
Got it.
Whereas with email marketing, you control that. So it's a matter of taking some control over those people who are interested.
And as far as getting someone's attention, are you convinced that video is the way to do that?
Yes.
As opposed to a stranger getting an email that they get 1,000 emails.
Well, I personally don't believe in cold email marketing. I'm a firm believer in you market to people who request that information, because I know I don't look or give any value to cold emails, right? But if it's someone who I've given them information,
but cold video.
Well, cold videos, that's just on social media. So people again go to social media, whether it's again YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. They go there to be entertained, right? Or to be to kill time or to whatever, right? And so then it's just a matter of connecting with them. Okay. So I do believe video is the most effective way to connect with people.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that.
No problem. And so once you get their email, like I said, then you can market to them accordingly. You still need to be able to provide value. We don't want to just say, hey, buy.
Right.
Who wants to read an email like that?
Right.
And so it's a matter of continuing to provide value and then having those conversion points, those conversion-centric messages sprinkled in.
And do you do all that? I mean, do you do the conversion messages behind the scenes? Do you create all that?
That's originally one of the ways that Mario and I met, was helping him with conversion messaging specific to life insurance.
Okay. So you specialize.
We can help with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's but then also within video and stuff. So let's say eventually we're asking someone to buy something. We're asking them to buy your course.
Okay.
Right. We recommend putting it's called a VSL, which stands for video sales letter, on the page where they're purchasing, right? And that just goes through and explains the value, explains what they're getting, explains, right? But
that's embedded into the video.
That video is embedded onto the landing page.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's a matter of having something like that then goes out and so when people make it to that page at some point, right, to the purchase point, we want to be able to explain to them what they're getting, set some expectations, introduce them to you, go through that process. And there's certainly a methodical process in putting together an effective video sales letter.
Okay. And do you do web pages and web design and all that stuff?
No, but we partner with other firms that do.
Okay.
So we try to stay away from that just because it's a lot of
Another
time
different
and work
animal.
and yeah.
So your specialty is video production?
Video marketing.
Video,
So
okay.
yeah, is certainly where we specialize.
Okay. And then as far as managing that and the what do you call it? The algorithms and all that, do you do that as well?
Yeah. Helping people,
That's all
helping
part of
people
video
optimize. Yeah.
Okay.
So when it comes to anything paid, we work with other vendors on other firms that only specialize in paid stuff, right? So each of these things are kind of a different animal.
Okay.
And any firm that says, yeah, we do it all is, it's kind of like when you try to be everything to everybody.
Right.
Yeah, you're nothing to anybody.
Right.
And that's the same thing in this world. It's
Okay.
it truly takes, but we have specific firms that we work with that we've worked with before that that can help fulfill.
Video marketing is your specialty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that include podcasts?
Yes. Yeah. That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Right. And again, the benefit of podcasting is you can get a lot of video, right? It gets pretty old standing in front of the camera and, here's 3 things you can do to blah, 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 right? And stuff like that. Whereas with the podcast, you can break it down into several segments and get a lot of content out of a very short period of time recording.
So under your video marketing umbrella, it includes the editing of something like this?
Yeah. So we have a team of editors that go through and
find good clips.
Yeah. So we use a combination of a few things. So as you can see, we've got 3 cameras here, right? It's going to spit out 3 separate files. We're recording our audio separately over here. So four files is what is going to, so we have a team of editors that will piece all that together, make that look nice, so that when I'm talking, camera's on me, when you're talking, it's on you. Other times it's going to be here in the middle.
Okay.
And so what we want to do with that is then we take that long form video is what we call it. So longer videos, 30 minutes or, 20 minutes or an hour, whatever it is.
Right.
And then we actually use some other technology to identify where there's potential nuggets of, potential short videos.
Technology determines that?
Yeah.
Really?
It takes a lot of, people can go through and do it manually. We have some people who do, some clients that want to do it that way, but otherwise we have technology that helps identify that.
I didn't know that.
Artificial intelligence and technology that identifies those things.
Okay.
But then we take it out of there and we reformat it. So one thing that's different is depending on where where your video is, there's going to be some platforms that want it like this, right? So just like a TV. Yeah, other platforms that want it like that. And so reformatting it and then putting other things, putting captions or subtitles that look cool and do, the prompt, having something at the end that prompts people to subscribe and like, and these are all things that are important on these short form videos.
Okay.
And so they go through, so we have someone that goes through, puts all that stuff on there, identifies it, and then works with you to schedule that out so that it gets dispersed.
Okay. And then we talked earlier about a course, a workshop, books and stuff like that. But if I wanted to create a course and have voiceovers, do you do that type of stuff?
We could certainly do that.
Okay.
Or we could do it. I would recommend doing it to where they still see your face as well. People connect with people.
Okay.
So having simply even if it's just a voiceover with a PowerPoint, I don't think you're going to connect at the same level as if they can look into your eyes while you're talking. And
how do you put
things.
the face and the course on the same screen? Do you alternate or do you?
I would recommend alternating, and doing it that way. And we can do it a lot of ways. So yeah, again,
great.
we've got
Thanks for
talented group of editors and graphic designers and
awesome.
They can take care of all that stuff.
Sounds great. Thank you.
But so it's just a matter of pushing people to that initial offer. So first, just to know who you are.
Right.
That's step 1, and that takes a little bit of time.
Okay.
Unless you got a whole lot of money, that sort of it takes time or money. one way or the other to get in front of people.
Sounds great.
And then we can drive them towards whatever that initial sort of, I'd recommend initially having sort of an opt-in, right? Start building your email list and everything like that. And then also driving them towards your initial offering, your product. And then from that, then we can, we can talk about pushing them towards other things, towards coaching, towards workshops, towards, fill in the blank on
sense.
that. But yeah, the step one is just getting people to know who you are.
Okay.
And that
takes a little time.
Takes even if you're putting money behind it, it still takes a little bit of time.
Okay.
So,
and when you say time, what are you thinking? Like, if I can't even imagine putting 2 videos out a day, but I'm taking your word for it. This is the way you gotta do it.
Yeah. And
if you did that, are you talking 3 months where you get traction, or 30 days, or 6 years, or what?
So different traction means different things. So initially, traction can be just getting people to see stuff, right? Getting in front of enough people where it feels validating, at least.
Sure.
And then, but then traction as far as pushing people towards, an opt-in or an actual product, right? Well, that's going to be different too.
Okay.
And so it depends on how much money is pushed towards it, is the short answer, right? Okay. So unless by chance, you end up just going viral on something or something like that, right? Which
like
is highly unlikely. That's exactly right. Chances are it's gonna take
take time.
Yeah. A couple months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, months initially, okay. And then starting to see sort of those initial sales come through and stuff like that is good too.
And to the sales point, Jimmy, do you help with pricing? So I don't even know what a course would sell for.
Yeah. I can make recommendations. So in the consulting and coaching world, I've worked with a lot of people in that business. So the initial software I told you about, the company that I worked for. Our bread and butter was certainly in the author coach world, right? And so we worked with some very large people on that level, but we worked with a lot of smaller ones too. And so as far as understanding that funnel and stuff, we'd initially pricing. Let's look at what others are doing. But initially look at competition. When you said $75 initially, that sounds high to me, to be perfectly honest, for a course. And this is not me. This is not a judgment on your course.
Oh, I understand. I understand
what I know people buy online, and everything. It might be,
and if you sold it for 25 and you got more participants,
yes,
you build your following quicker, possibly.
Well, and again, if the goal is so sort of the initial sale, a lot of time, what I tell people to look at is you want to look at that as almost a replacement of advertising costs. That's your loss leader. Okay. And so if you can get away with where it's getting enough volume that it's paying for your ad cost, right? Because we know that the real goal is to sell them on these other high ticket items.
Right.
Then that's a win, right? Because the initial part is a wash. That's paying for you to get in front of people.
Okay.
And then the real goal, is vibrating on disease. Driving me nuts. When the real goal is to eventually get them into some of these other programs and other things.
Okay.
Now what that means is that initial sale also needs to, so the course, for example, needs to be good enough to where they want to buy something else from you,
right? Where
they're willing to really pull out the checkbook and give you some, scratch you some cash. And that's where you really make money. But if you can initially, like I said, break even on that first offering, that's sort of that's the goal. That's the goal. Yeah.
And then you're building a following, you're covering your costs, and you're surviving.
And we're not just delivering that initial product and then saying, all right, see you later, we'll never talk to you. That's where email marketing and things like that also come into play.
Okay.
Because we can then, with that, all right, we know they purchased this, so now we put together a funnel that specifically drives them towards getting coaching and getting some of these other services.
And so who does that analysis when you said that's not the only connection point you want with them? You want to...
Well, yeah. And so there's software that fulfills on stuff like that for you. and we can recommend stuff like that. That's, like I said, the company that I worked for before. That software manages that process, manages that customer life cycle to do those upsells and cross sells.
But how do you, and that sounds good, and I've heard that before, but how does a guy like me with no knowledge of this software stuff, do you guys provide assistance with someone like me to implement that software properly?
Yeah. We can initially give you advice on it, okay? And then, like I said, there's other companies where if a build out is needed and things like that, where we can get you connected with the right people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Can you give me an idea of what it would cost someone like me to get this thing off the ground initially with your company?
So where I would start would be, like I said, I would start with just doing sort of the 2 videos a day. Okay. Like I said, before you put any money behind anything else, right? If you did that in a podcast format, okay, we charge, so what you'd want to, in most cases, you're going to have about, four podcasts per month, 1 a week, right? Okay. And then that means that if we're going to have 2 videos go out a day, we need to find about 15 segments per podcast.
So we tape 1 a week.
Well, what I would recommend is actually doing a day where you just have either different people come in or different, and knock 4 out in a day. So more of sort of a full day of recording is how other clients do it. Okay. That's a lot easier than one a week is going to get, you're going to burn yourself out. Whereas you knock it all out in a day, 1 day a month is a lot easier.
When you say a day, you're talking 8 hours or how many hours?
Most of a day.
Okay.
Because there's time in between. There's time, we got to change out cards, change out batteries, change out, we're taking care of a lot of things at once in order to actually fulfill that and accomplish that.
Okay. So that's step 1, hanging out 1 day's worth of podcast video. Is that correct?
Which is what I recommend. Yep.
Okay. And then what would be the next step?
And then the next step would be then our editors go through, piece them together.
Okay.
And then
editing for how many pieces would you say?
Initially it's just editing the long form. So
what does that mean, editing?
Well, because we have 4 different points that are recording here. So making that look good.
Got it.
Initially and everything takes some editing out of the gates, and then going through and segmenting it. Finding the short form videos and everything like that to put together. Like I said, you need a minimum of 50 short forms per long form. 15 per long form in order to get the 60 per month. 15 shorts per long.
Okay.
In order to get the 60 per month.
Okay.
And so that's what other clients do. So with that, we charge $3,000 per month for that. It's basically $1,500 for the full day of recording and the editing of the long form, and then another $1,500 to pull the short ones. Works out to being about $25 per short form video.
Okay, so you're looking, a person like me is looking, he'd have to invest $3,000 a month to generate this kind of consistent video.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one segment of this business. The second segment would be the behind the scenes software that's going to manage the click.
The rest of that. Yeah. Yeah. So
can you talk to me about
that? So in order to get that, you'd probably be looking at around $300 a month is what I would guess.
And what would we call that?
And that would be your CRM and marketing automation. That would be your sales and marketing software, and that's going to fulfill your email marketing. Your that would be your having people have the ability to purchase online without talking to you, and then actually have all the fulfillment and the upsells and everything like that done through technology.
Okay, customers buying online, etc.
Yeah, so it's called it'd be having it's called a CRM, so customer relationship management system.
Okay.
Your marketing automation and your e-commerce, so the ability to purchase online.
That's all
in one solution, correct?
So we talked about something earlier that I'd like to touch on. So still can't think of that word. where it's automated like you just described.
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't want to do all this video and I got 10 customers, I group them all together, pardon me, 10 students grouped all together, and I coached them through a class.
Mm-hmm.
Charge them each $100. So I have $1,000 in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Trading time for money.
Yep. Yep.
Do you advise that format or the one you just described?
I'd recommend the one that I described. And then when you do coach someone, that's a high ticket item, right? Because your time is valuable.
So what's been your experience on those high ticket items? What can those range price wise?
It's tough to say because it's going to be based on the industry completely. So for example, a B2B coaching, business to business coaching session, right? So it can be, I hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Whereas a business to consumer, a B2C, is typically going to be at a lower price level.
Okay.
I would think if you were offering a service like, a class or something like that, you'd be charging, I would hope, a lot more than $100 if they're actually having communication with you, even if it's 20 people in the class or whatever. You're charging significantly more for something like that. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of testing what the market will allow too, right? Because even though it sounds like you're doing good work with what you're, what you're trying to sell, we still, we're in business to make money, right?
Yep.
And so
that's great. So the first part is the video marketing or the video production, right?
Video production is going to help you get eyeball. First and foremost, we need eyeballs on your brand, and on you, right? The most effective way I know of to do that is through video, and the easiest way to do that is through podcasts.
And why is it the easiest way? Because of what you said, that you can get a lot of footage quickly and clip it down. Yeah,
because it's a lot less intimidating for most people to have a conversation like this than it is to say, all right,
go out and
go and action, right?
Okay.
That's more intimidating.
That's a great point.
And there's a time and a place for those videos.
That's a great point.
But it takes a lot of planning, a lot of work, right? This is pretty easy.
Yeah. Then you can clip so many different pieces.
Tons of pieces.
That's great.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this? This podcasting, if you will?
For 4 years now. So,
really?
Yeah.
And prior to that, you did video stuff as well, or?
I was working for different software companies, but video was a major part of my strategy. Which is why I connected with Mario so much. So
that's good. It's all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
It's like when you first walk in there, it's kind of intimidating. Like, I've never done a podcast before, and now, like, okay, I get this.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Huge efficiency.
Right. Exactly. And that's really the key. Like I said, very few people want to be a full-time content creator and just, recording all the time and everything. If you do, great, right? If that was you, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Because you'd have gone down this road already. And so this is a very easy way to get the content that's necessary in order to.
So Jimmy, that leads me to my next question. So if you and I hire you guys and we're going to create content for me, then does the role kind of reverse where you're in here asking me questions so I can provide information to my audience? Is that kind of how it works?
That's part of it. What I always recommend is that, we start with, let's look at, so for your first day of recording for a month's worth of content, right? Let's find 4 different pain points or 4 different, topics that are we think will identify.
Okay.
Let's find either, and whether it's just, for your podcast, if it's just you talking to a camera, that's a lot harder way to do it. But if it's something where you can, you have other people, whether it's your wife or your a family member or whoever, right? Where you guys can have a conversation. Just have a conversation. There should be some format to it, to a certain degree. But people are connecting more and more with just this organic conversation than they are with, again, where you're looking at the camera. Hey, here's what we, that seems, there's a sales element to that doesn't exist when there's just a casual conversation.
That's a great point, because it seems what you're portraying then is, like you said, a conversation instead of, hey, do this.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
less threatening.
Exactly. And it's just,
It's great for it.
it touches on the entertainment factor. And if we can also inspire them along the way, people are again, more likely to connect with that.
Okay. So the first part is video production. The second part is the CRM. What's the third step? Or do we need to?
And then we start making sales,
Okay. So there's only 2 steps.
Well, there's a lot of steps in between within those, but yeah.
Oh, I know.
I mean, setting up the automation platform, setting up all these things to run.
And that's part of the CRM.
That's part of the CRM.
Okay.
Yeah, CRM and marketing automation.
So these are primarily the 2 steps, so I don't get overwhelmed.
That's right. Getting you started. Those are the 2 things that I would recommend. Okay. Step 1 is start creating video and start and get it out there.
Okay.
Stop keeping it a secret who Kurt is.
Okay.
Okay.
And then if we went this route and we started March 1st, how soon do you think we can start making sales? Because you said the third step is making sales. So what would that look like? And I understand it depends on industry and all that stuff.
And everything.
It's kind of
and it also depends on if we want to start experimenting with putting some money behind other things, but to put you in a position where you actually can make sales, because I assume right now you don't have anything from an e-commerce perspective set up right now.
Nothing.
So I would estimate that by the middle of April you would be in a position where you could make sales. Okay. Assuming you said March, all right. So let's finish, March 1st, let's get you in here to record, and then or sometime beginning of March. So by the middle, we're starting to post. Well, during that time, there's some lag time where then we can connect you with people who can, again, help you start getting these things set up, getting your automation and getting, one thing that's important to keep in mind, especially with a startup, is you don't have to try to, out of the gates, build the automation Taj Mahal, right? We need something to
just order the course.
That's right. Collect some basic information. And purchase.
Okay.
Right? And then
simple stuff. For you guys, that's easy.
Simple for everybody is the idea.
And then at the same time, you're still capturing those people who did not buy the course. They're showing interest.
Well, that's where, like I said, having sort of a lead magnet out there, having something else other than your course that would give people a reason to give you their information.
Okay.
So that's sort of another offering, if you will, but it's something for free, right? That gives, why do I want to be on Kurt's
and that could
email
be
list?
My books.
Yeah, it could be whatever.
And their ebooks.
It could be. Yeah. I'm not suggesting that you need to do that, but yeah, that's a great one to do to be able to initially just get people's information.
Okay. Not sure if I have any other questions. This is very thought-provoking and exciting.
It's a lot of information. I'm trying not to overwhelm you, but be thorough at the same time.
You're talking about a lot about video, but we haven't talked at all about LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff that I know nothing about.
That's where the videos are going to be placed.
And the videos go to all of those platforms?
Yeah. That's the idea.
So we haven't even talked about an advertising budget either. So, So this is all just creating it. Can you give me an idea of what it would cost to actually get it out there?
Well, just posting organically, right?
Is that what you were talking about?
So we can post organically for you. We can help you with that, okay? As far as putting an advertising budget, it doesn't take a ton anymore, especially depending on where you're advertising, in order to get in front of a lot of eyeballs, and like I said, help us start identifying what's connecting.
Okay.
Right. So we'd have to look, because it's different by industry and everything. So we'd have to work with another vendor to look at, all right, what is a reasonable budget and which platforms do we want to push on?
Okay.
Right. I would guess that we're probably, looking at Facebook's kind of overpriced in my opinion right now, Facebook and Instagram, in pretty much any industry. But TikTok is good. YouTube is good. Right now, I don't foresee you getting a lot of traction on LinkedIn between you and I.
Okay.
But I could be wrong about that, right? But LinkedIn ads are crazy expensive anyways. But
okay. Just curious, why do you think you wouldn't get attracted? Because it's because of what I'm promoting?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm selling financial services.
That's right.
Okay.
LinkedIn's so salesy too anyways that, yeah. I'm not a fan of LinkedIn right now.
Okay.
As a platform. I have a lot of followers there, but I don't.
But you're thinking more TikTok and what else?
And YouTube. Just like I said, I feel like Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram right now, is overpriced. And yeah, I've got another client that they work with another vendor. We create all their videos, and but it's like a supplement brand. But they get a lot of traction on TikTok with not a huge budget either. So,
and Jimmy, the other thing too, I think about my market, it's probably going to be older people, 50 up.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, do you still think TikTok is an option for an older market? Because I'm assuming TikTok's for younger people.
Yeah, I would guess so.
So that would leave my market mainly YouTube.
I mean, well, no, I would think it would still be an option.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was going to show you on ours on the Why Not Results one. Let's pull it up here. If I can remember how to find this as far as age demographics. Creator tools, analytics. I'm trying to think. There's somewhere where I can find the age in here. It's been a while since I looked at that.
Okay. While you're looking that up, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You know how we talked about step one is video production. Before we start posting, I got to make sure everything's ready if someone were to buy a course. Or we're not even to that point.
I wouldn't even worry about it initially. Yeah.
Because we're not even talking about that.
That's right. We're not offering a course to anyone yet, right? So because I would also recommend that we go through and recreate the deliverable for your course, as opposed to just the PDF. Like I said, I recommend doing a video where we incorporate the images and stuff from the PDF, just so that you're delivering something of that's higher perceived value and that's more personal, and we're connecting, because again, that's not the last thing we want them to buy. Does that make sense?
It does. And that leads me to another question. So my higher end item, Jimmy, would be personal coaching.
Yep.
And the downside of that, though, is now I'm trading time for money.
That's why, but there's going to be a much higher price tag. I think the real, the way you scale between one and the next is by having your online course, right? That's just one to many. And then you have workshops and things like that you do periodically, where you sign up 10, 15, 20 people to work together on something. And then you have your one-to-one, and those are just the elite of the elite that you work with.
Okay.
Because then it's worth your time to spend. It's worth it to spend time with them.
Got it. That all makes sense. I don't know if I can get there, but I'm sure this is my passion. And when I told Mario that, he said he's more concerned about passion projects than regular business. And
yeah.
So I don't know.
So does that answer most of your questions?
A lot of great answers. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Great answers.
Good.